Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Now, I do realise that this is somewhat overdue, seeing as Dragon Age Origins was originally released way back in 2009, but I never got around to writing about all of the various DLC that BioWare made in the years following the main game. I am currently in the process of replaying the entire Dragon Age series from beginning to end, so what better time to share my thoughts with you all about the optional extra content. This article will be focusing on the DLC that is quest related rather than those that just add some extra weapons or armour. There will be a short summary on each pack followed by a score out of 10. I won't be including Awakening here because that is a full on expansion pack which already has its own separate review. This is a fairly brief but useful bit of extra content that gives you a quest that will take roughly 45 minutes to complete at the most. When you're done, your Warden will have a new base of operations, although that doesn't really mean very much. It mostly just gives you access to a party storage chest where you can dump your loot in between quests and a vendor to sell the junk to. The quest itself is quite good fun with some interesting lore to listen to or read in the codex, and there are some moral choices to be made at the end. It's not worth the rather steep price of almost a £5, so either wait for a DLC sale or buy the Ultimate Edition instead. Overall, 6 out of 10. This is quite easily my favourite of all the extra content released for Dragon Age Origins, and I can't really imagine playing through the game without it. The Stone Prisoner adds an extra recruitable party member to the main game, in the form of Shale, a golem. There's an introductory quest that needs to be completed in order to add her to your party, which takes about half an hour. After that you can bring Shale along on any quest that you see fit, and chat with her in camp. She is a very well written and interesting character who has some very amusing dialogue and a bit of a problem with mages and birds. By increasing your standing with her through dialogue options or gifts, you can eventually unlock a loyalty mission which will give you some insight on her backstory, which is well worth taking the extra bit of time to do. Shale ends up being one of the best party members in the game, and because there's no cost involved, you may as well install her. Overall, 9 out of 10. This one adds about 45 minutes of extra content again, and allows you to return to the battlefield of Ostagar, which is where the Grey Wardens were betrayed by Tairn Loghain at the start of the game, and King Cailan lost his life. Your task here is to recover all of Cailan's armour from the Darkspawn that are lurking about, ending with a final confrontation with a nasty Genlock Necromancer. After that, you should return to Cailan's mutilated body and give him the burial he deserves. This DLC reminded me very much of the Normandy Crash Site DLC for Mass Effect 2. It is similar in tone and purpose. Not too bad, but nothing all that spectacular really. Overall, 6 out of 10. This DLC lets you play out a what-if scenario where the Darkspawn end up winning during the invasion of Denham at the end of the main game. You take control of a Herlock who hears the whispers of the Archdemon and can enthrall other Darkspawn units such as Genlocks, Shrieks and even an Ogre. This one takes roughly an hour and a half to finish, and it's a bit of mindless fun really. Laying waste to the heroes from the main campaign does give you a bit of a sick thrill. Overall, 6 out of 10. This takes the form of a prologue to the main campaign and gives you some insight into the backstory of Liliana, the rogue who became a member of the Chantry for a time before eventually joining up with the Wardens. You will be carrying out a variety of crimes in and around Denham alongside your partner and lover, Marjolaine. Those who have spoken to Liliana extensively in camp will know that Marjolaine ended up betraying her and left her for dead. Now you can get the full sad story. This is probably the best DLC so far after The Stone Prisoner, as it actually focuses on a character that I already care about. Overall, 7 out of 10. This is probably my least favourite of all the DLC that was released for Dragon Age. The main reason for this is that it doesn't feature any of the party members that you have formed a bond with over the many hours that you spent with them, and instead introduces a couple of dwarves that are looking for assistance in recovering the lost secrets of Gollum Creation from the ancient fortress of Amgarak. It's another very brief tale at around a single hour, not enough time to get to know these new characters or care about them. It's also punishingly difficult, and it's highly recommended that you don't attempt it until you've completed the Awakening expansion. I did quite like the design of the new creature that's introduced called the Harvester, though it did remind me of the polymorph from Red Dwarf a little bit. This DLC isn't worth seeking out individually, but you might as well play it if you obtained it as part of the Ultimate Edition. Overall, 5 out of 10. Witch Hunt is another incredibly brief and somewhat underwhelming piece of extra content. Like many of the others, it weighs in at roughly an hour. This one actually had a lot of potential because it sees the return of Morrigan, a very popular character from the main game excellently voiced by Claudia Black. After the final battle with the Archdemon, she took her leave from the party and requested that you never go looking for her. Well, here you are looking for her. The final conversation with Morrigan is incredibly brief, and after it's over, the end credits roll and then that's it. I would have liked the chance to have a quick chat with Finn and Ariane, your new companions that you barely have any opportunity to get to know. It's a shame you don't, because their dialogue is well written and humorous, and I would have welcomed more of it. Instead of going out with a bang with its last adventure, Dragon Age Origins fizzles out instead, which is incredibly frustrating. Overall, 6 out of 10. Overall, I would say that the DLC for Dragon Age Origins is worth playing through at least once if you are a fan of the original game. Most of these packs are pretty brief, however, and are definitely not worth paying the full amount for in 2019. However, there is a solution. The Ultimate Edition of the game includes everything listed here, as well as the Awakening expansion. And because everything is included on a second physical disc, you can buy a second-hand copy safe in the knowledge that you will be able to access everything, as long as the DLC disc isn't missing, of course. This is definitely the cheapest way to get a hold of everything. Copies go for about £15 on Amazon and eBay. While most of these packs only add an hour or two of gameplay at the most, it all adds up to an extremely solid package that I think is still worth a punt, despite the rather dated visuals. One last thing, I wasn't sure if the Ultimate Edition would work properly on the Xbox One, because you install the DLC from a second disc, but apparently it does work after you jump through a few hoops. Apparently you should install the DLC disc first, then the main play disc, then put the DLC disc back in before launching the game. Then you should be able to access everything. I haven't confirmed this myself because I don't own a copy of the Ultimate Edition, but if you do this you should be okay.